Take off your mask and smile at each other.
I'm Kamile Kapel, and I'm here with Susan Stanfield, and I really wanted to interview this woman. Things are advancing. Masks are becoming mandatory across America, across Canada, and I'm thinking, oh my God, it's coming closer. Soon they're going to force me to wear a mask. One night I came home and there was a sign by the elevator asking me to wear a mask in my own building. So it's time to take action. And when I heard Susan speak, I got inspired because she's taking action. Tell us what you're doing to stop mandatory masking.
Well, I was like Kamile, right? We're watching the content, and I have been doing activism for a long time. So I knew when this hit that it was important to take action, and I considered a lawsuit against Bonnie Henry immediately within the first week. She is the reason why my family income was destroyed. She was the reason that the emergency orders were put in place. She is the public health officer. So I was like, she's the reason. I knew exactly what the problem was. It was her. But I knew enough to know, okay, you can't sue somebody without really knowing what you're doing. And after a while, leading the marches, I thought, okay, we have to start moving into action, and that action has to be legal action.
What happened in the news? You heard something from Adrian Dix that got you concerned. It got you running down to the courthouse.
Well, we've all been seeing these news stories, and I have a double major in politics and TV. So I can see things, I can see into things, and a lot of us just have passively thought, oh yeah, whatever, God, we see this thing in the news. But nothing really was at stake until now in the same way. We didn't face the loss of freedoms we feel now. So I have seen these news stories for months. But this one stuck out, and I was like, I'm gonna tackle this one. I'm gonna pursue every little detail in this that I think is wrong, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. And I think what I've actually stumbled upon is something potentially much more corrupt than I thought.
Tell us the story for people who don't know what story. She's sleuthing in on this story.
Okay, well, I'm calling it the Dr. Wei Li application for injunction story, right? It's kind of wordy. So an injunction is something a court is allowed to do to stop or start an action. It forces something to start or forces something to stop. It's called an injunction. It's a pretty big action, and that's what the Supreme Court has explained to me. This isn't something that you take lightly. The filing fees are $200 alone to start, which are high. Normally filing fees are much lower than that in the court. And I was like, okay, so a family doctor has decided that she's going to force an injunction on the Minister of Health, Adrian Dix, that will then force the province to force mask us. And I got all of that through the CBC story. But one of the clues that stuck out to me that was wrong was when I went through the details of the story again, I could tell that the court action hadn't happened. And I thought, so how is Adrian Dix allowed to make a quote on something if the court action hasn't happened? Because I went into the Supreme Court the next day and they said, this hasn't been filed yet. This story was leaked to the media.
Oh.
And I was like, that's what they told me in the Supreme Court.
They said it was leaked to the media?
This is exactly what she said. She said, we've been getting calls about this for a day. This application has not been filed. The story was leaked to the media. And you probably won't get information from Adrian Dix. And I was just about to walk out, and I turned around and I said, why would I get information from Adrian Dix anyway? And she said, because he's named in the case.
How is he named?
Well, and then, for people like us, lay people with the law, I'm like spinning through this from my head for hours, like, how is this all pieced together? It's like doing a jigsaw puzzle and you don't have the box. So you don't know what the picture looks like, and you find one piece that matches one piece. Well, so now what has happened, the paperwork showed up 3 days late for some reason, and I don't believe that the court computers weren't working. This is what the journalist said, because they told me in the Supreme Court that the computers were working and the filings happened instantly. So if you file something Wednesday morning, you can see it Wednesday afternoon. And this took 3 business days to show up. And so it was on my list of, that's weird. That's weird. Like, all these things didn't really make sense. It wasn't a clear cut and dry story. And so one of the researchers who helps me sent me the document. There's no lawyer name on it. There's no lawyer phone number. The number doesn't start with the proper sequence of numbers, which is what I was taught for the year 2020. And it's an injunction against the Minister of Health. I thought, this is really weird that a family doctor would suddenly decide to force an injunction against the Minister of Health of a province, against 5 million people. This is not typical behavior.
So what is she supposedly saying in this injunction? What is she trying to do?
Okay, so
This shifty doctor who happens to be Chinese. Now we're not
that's the
racist,
other
but
piece.
it does seem significant.
Well, it didn't surprise me. I was like, okay, she's Chinese.
They like masks in China, apparently.
Well, okay, so there's that
They wear
part.
them a lot.
But the other part is Chinese medicine is also one of the oldest traditional medicines in the world. That is strange that a Chinese doctor would feel so threatened. That's what the article said. She feels anxious constantly because of corona, and she wants everybody to be masked. And I thought that's not really typically something a Chinese doctor with experience would say, because she would understand viruses. She would understand that this isn't a big deal. So again, it was one of those, that doesn't add up pieces. And then I found out that the filing happened in Chilliwack. And I was like, so then she drives 90 kilometers east? None of it made sense. It wasn't a cut and dry ABCD, okay, this is a simple case. And I'm still finding all the details now. So this is what we know, that one individual has maybe hired a lawyer, because there's a lawyer involved, to force the Minister of Health to force 5 million of us to wear masks. And I was just shocked and disgusted, really, that we live in a legal system that actually could allow that this court may rule in her favor. And suddenly we're all masked because one doctor decides this?
Wow. So could you just as easily go in
Yeah.
and say, actually, we don't want to wear masks?
So
We don't think
that's
it's
my
a good
plan.
idea.
That's my plan B.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to injunction the injunction. Injunction can start or stop something. So if she can start forced masking as an individual, I'm going to go in there with $200 in my lawyer, and I'm going to stop forced masking.
Yeah.
If she has the ability, then I have the ability, and I'm going to win. Because
Although you're
more
not a
people-
doctor, though.
Yeah, but it's not really about your standing as a person. It's about the evidence that you provide. So this is one of the other things. A piece of the evidence that she provided is completely false. She said, well, it's the spread of all the asymptomatic people. And there's no proof that asymptomatic carriers are spreading this. So I'm like, okay, now this doctor has false information. And there was an example in the newspaper of this totally ridiculous thing. It's like, she said, not having people in masks is like driving down the highway with all the doors open and you're not wearing a seatbelt or something. It was this really outlandish example. I thought, that sounds like something a PR company would write. And I have a PR background. I thought, that does not sound like something that a Chinese family doctor in Burnaby. It was all, none of it added up. And we know that news stories can be fraudulent. And I thought, I wonder if I'm looking at something that's completely fraudulent. And it's in the paper, it's in the news, to normalize and start making us accept forced masking. And that's when I decided I'm going to get off the couch, I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
Good
I'm going
for
to
you.
put all these details together, I'm going to
Yeah.
bang on these doors, do whatever it takes, and if it's not going to be me, who's going to do it?
Now that I know about it, I want to do it. What do I have to do, Susan, to help?
Well, okay, next time you see a story, you can either help me or I would say to people who are watching this, next time you see a story and you're like, I don't agree with that, print that story out, get your highlighter out, make a little folder or booklet, get to the bottom of it, get involved, go to a courthouse, go to a lawyer, whatever it is, whatever jurisdiction or whatever issue it is. Like, okay, so here's a good example. My friend Megan is doing this. She was denied entry to Lululemon because now they have forced masks in the stores. And instead of her just getting pissed off and going, oh, well, whatever, putting the mask on, she's taking legal action. She's researching at home right now, and she is going to file legal action. Boycott Lululemon. You know, like, no, do not support these stores that violate human rights. That's what that is. We cannot support these stores. And there was a successful case, or not case, but news report came out, 3 major stores. Did you see that? It was like Walgreens or Walmart or something.
Yes.
And they've all reversed policy now because people said, no, I'm not doing that. So that was
Because
successful
people don't
action.
want to go to Walgreens to pick up some paracetamol for their sick grandmother and got like beaten up because they're not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
That's just not good customer service. What happened to customer service? Canada used to have the best customer service. You go in, you get a nice smile. Waiters and waitresses always making jokes at the table. They get more tips. They're so charming. All these actors that serve tables that are so funny. Now it's just like you go down to McDonald's, it feels like you're going into a prison.
This is to me, one of the biggest heartbreaks of all of this is this wonderful social fabric that we have in a society like ours of courtesy and respect is being destroyed, and nobody knows how to behave under circumstances that are grossly human rights violating. So I've lived in Africa for almost 20 years, and we all know how to behave in corrupt countries because that's the way it is in Africa.
How do you
and
behave in a corrupt country?
Well, people don't lose their courtesy. They kind of help each other. They're like, okay, yeah, I can sell you that under the table, or everybody helps each other. The society works like that. They're not jerks to each other. There's a few people that are, but that's what's so sad about watching what's happening in Canada now, is that regular, everyday people are becoming policing. They're policing of other people.
I know.
And nobody is helping us. The employers aren't, the government isn't, the media is. They totally should be doing this every day on TV, helping us go through what human rights violations are. They're not. They're just basically telling everybody, well, you have to deal with it. This is what's going on, and it's really going to fracture things. So that's why I would say to people is like, find a little thing and get out there and fix it. And it actually nurtures hope. It makes you feel like you have power. Other people will follow you and go behind you. And that's the way we have to all behave now.
Wow. So just on this, if we can wrap up on this mandatory mask issue that you're working on,
Yeah.
is there anything that people could do to support you to file this injunction?
Yeah. So anytime you see the story here or on my page, the Susan Stanfield Facebook page, this is what's going to happen over the next few weeks. So Dr. Wei Li and her lawyer are going to go into a Chilliwack courtroom, the Chilliwack Supreme Court, on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. That's when the court hearing is. So hopefully I'm going to be allowed in that room. We're going to be videotaping, protesting,
Great.
and we're going to start this process of, okay, so how does one person apply for an injunction? Where and when is the public allowed to participate? How can we influence the decision of the court? Who's the judge? Is the judge being paid off? Like, how is it all working? So it's going to be a learning experience in the first few days or the first week. It's not going to happen very quickly. I don't think the injunction ruling could happen within a day or two. So we probably have a few weeks. Just get involved, share the stories, focus on the Chilliwack Supreme Court, make a phone call, organize people outside, contact the media, insist in your community, this is bad, I don't want this. Just shine a light on the story as much as you can. And particularly pressure this doctor and this lawyer that this is unethical what they're doing. If you believe it's wrong, some people will believe that it's right. And
Could we write reviews on her website that we don't like her ideas?
Well, you
Where
could.
did you find? You said this
Yeah.
doctor had some bad reviews. Where did you find
Yeah,
those?
no, she had apparently atrocious reviews as a doctor. Things about being poked with metal instruments and stuff. So you have to pressure the system. You have to find the crack. And I think what the pressure is on her and the lawyer to get everybody talking about them 24 hours a day. Who are these people? We have to make them real. Where do they live? What do they look like? Why are they doing this? Who's paying for this? Who's behind this all?
Right.
We have to make them very real. And we could succeed in kind of scaring it all off, and maybe they'll drop it and they won't pursue it. I don't know what's about to happen.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if they dropped this desire to have, so we never have mandatory masks in BC? Just yesterday I was riding my bicycle along Jericho and Locarno Beach, and there were all these people playing volleyball and breathing the fresh air and going to the beach with their kids. And isn't that why we love BC? Because we love to just be in nature, and then we love just to go for, maybe a bite to eat or a drink in a bar and just be able to smile at people.
And we have to have choice. That's what it's all about. You wear your mask, you don't wear your mask. I wear my mask, whatever. It has to be about choice. As soon as we start losing that in our society, then that's a big dangerous slope downwards.
So we're so grateful that Susan Stanfield is taking it upon herself to be proactive here, and I hope she's inspired you to be proactive in your own life too. And if you don't have time for that, you can also just donate to Susan's cause, because she does have to feed her children and her family. They've all lost their jobs due to everything. So you can donate on her paypal.me link in the link below. And stay tuned to see what happens next.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be raising more money outside of my personal, I don't know how that's all going to work, but through some sort of a legal campaign, because this could take some time and it could cost some money and use lawyers and whatnot. We have no idea what's about to happen, so not going to give up though.
Definitely not.
This is your wake-up call. Now is the time to come together.